them. And it's really funny. He says, maybe he's sleeping. Maybe he's traveling. Maybe he's doing this or that. He even mocks him and says, maybe he's busy, which is a term for using the restroom. I mean, Elijah is really just pulling it out. Because he knows with confidence, I can mock them all I want because I know Baal is not a god. And so here he is, and they're all slicing themselves because in their religion, they believed if you showed blood and self-mutilated yourself, the gods would be appeased and answered. But no one answered. And this is something that we have to remember. Despite all the advantages that the world makes us believe that they have, they're going to fail against God. How many of you think you can defeat God? How many of us think that we're wiser than God? Or more talented or intelligent than God? Here's the thing. You plus God equals victory. Anyone who opposes God fails. We see it at the cross. We see it at the empty tomb. And we'll see it when Christ returns. Every time Christ wins, God wins. People who oppose God will always fail. And that's something that we need courage to remember. Even if we're killed or persecuted or hurt or thwarted in life, guess what? They may think they have temporary victories, just like how Satan thought he had a temporary victory in killing Christ. But in hindsight, they're going to realize, wow, we lost, and we lost big time. And that's one of the things that we need to remember, is that those who go against God lose. But here is the message that we need to remember. God's people will be victorious. God's people will always be victorious. Here's the thing. We are not outnumbered in power. In numbers, yes, but not in power. And let me tell you why. Because you plus God always equals victory. All you need, you can have the whole 8 billion people against you, but if you have God on your side, you'll win. Because that's how God works. That's who God is. And we want the victory, not for self-glory or adventure or praise, but we want God glorified, and we want people to look to God and say, He's God. He's the one. And this is what Elijah is going to do. He's going to prove to the people without a shadow of doubt that God is God. That He is to be worshipped. He is to be feared. He is to be obeyed. He is to be loved. And they're going to acknowledge that. And this is one of the things we need to remember. We are victorious. We may be few here. Look at all the people here. This may be it. And Moses is like, who knows? But even if that were the case, we still win. And we still want the message that God is God. So let's read verse 30 through 42. Then Elijah said to all the people, come here to me. They came to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord, which was in ruins. Elijah took 12 stones, one each for the tribe descended from Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, your name shall be Israel. With the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he dug a trench around it, large enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. He arranged the wood, cut the bull into pieces, and laid it on the wood. Then he said to them, fill 4 large jars of water, and pour it on the offering and wood. Do it again, he said, and they did it again. Do it a 3rd time, and he ordered, and they did it a 3rd time. The water ran down the altar and even filled the trench. And at the time of sacrifice, the prophet Elijah stepped forward and prayed, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and have done all these things that you command. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, so that the people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. When all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, the Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God! Then Elijah commanded them, seize the prophets of Baal. Don't let anyone get away. They seized them, and Elijah had brought them down to the Kishon Valley and slaughtered them. And Elijah said to Ahab, go eat and drink, for there is the sound of a heavy rain. So Ahab went off to eat and drink. But Elijah climbed to the top of Carmel, bent down to the ground, and put his face between his knees. So here's the thing. Elijah does something amazing. He goes and he sets up this broken altar, which means the people of Israel abandoned God. They were not offering up sacrifices on this altar to God. They have totally abandoned God for the Baals. But he reestablishes that altar, and he builds it with 12 stones. And when he does this, he's making known to the people of Israel, saying, you know what? You rejected God, but God is trying to renew His covenant with you. He's still faithful to you. And building that altar, that was symbolic of God being a covenant-keeping God, keeping his promises, still saying, I love you, I care for you, I want you back. But then do you see how Elijah won the victory? It wasn't by his own might, his own wisdom, his own power, but what did he do? He prayed to God. And he prayed to God. And he made known, I am your servant. I am doing just what you commanded me to do. That's what people of faith do. They say, I'm a servant of God, I obey God, and I pray to God because he's the one who brings the victory, not us. And he does so not just to be the victorious, but what does he pray? He prays for the people. He prays for the people and says, may their hearts return back to God. And after doing all this and filling water all over, and the fire comes down and consumes it, and without a shadow of a doubt, it immediately happened. He didn't need no 12 hours. You know? And he proved it. The straddling of the fence ended. And how did the people respond? The Lord is God. The Lord is God. Guess what would happen if Elijah wouldn't have stood up, outnumbered by the people? What would have happened? Those hearts would not have returned. Those people would not have heard God showing them that he's still holding covenant with them. They would have not have said, he is God, he is God. They would not have penitent hearts. This is why it's so important for us to stand up, because we have the victory, but when we stand up, we give people an opportunity to see the glory of God. And to see the glory of God, they say, he is God. And then their hearts turn back to him. Isn't that what our desire is for people? It's for their hearts to be turned back to God, to turn to God, and for them to see the glory of God. It's all about God. It's not about us. But to think that God keeps his covenant. This is where we understand God always has victory. And there's the thing. We don't have to feel like we're alone because we're never alone. Do you remember what Jesus says? Never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. Even when we're going off and making the Great Commission and fulfilling it, Jesus makes known, I'm going to be with you. I'm with you. And this is why we stand. You may stand and everyone may oppose you. I may stand here and you all may oppose me. But guess what? Jesus would be right here next to me. And I would win. When you stand up among all those people who are persecuting you, even if you're by yourself, if Jesus is right next to you, you win. And you know what? When you do that, you give people an opportunity to see God, to glorify God, and say, he is God. And the last thing that I want us to see is God's covenant blessing is renewed when we're faithful. And that's the whole part. And this is why it seems kind of random why this water. Remember how the waters have stopped for 3.5 years? Because if Baal was truly God, the rains would have come down and with all that Baal worship. But it was withheld because people departed from God. But when Elijah rebuilt those stones and that altar and showing them the renewal of God's covenant to them, and they're saying, he is God, then, and after proving that God is God, then when God sends rain, everyone will know who sent the rain. Not just the fire down, but the rain. And then that God is going to show he's renewing covenant with those who are faithful. Let's read verse 43 to 46. And then we're also going to see how Elijah was the first superhero. Sorry, Captain America. Verse 43. Go and look toward the sea, he told his servant. And he went up and looked. There is nothing there. And he said 7 times. Elijah said, go back. The 7th time the servant reported, a cloud as small as a man's hand is rising from the sea. So Elijah said, go and tell Ahab, hitch up your chariot and go down before the rain stops you. Meanwhile, the sky grew black, and the clouds and the winds rose, and a heavy rain came on, and Ahab rode off to Jezreel. The power of the Lord came upon Elijah. Tucking his cloak into his belt, he ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel. So one of the first things that we see here is that by God sending back his rain, he's showing them, I'm willing to bless you again because of my covenant. If you will truly return your hearts to me, I will bless you. We see that in the covenant of blessings and cursing from the time of Moses. Deuteronomy chapter 28 through 30, Leviticus 26. And so God is showing them, I'm willing to bless you again if you're willing to be faithful to me. Worship me alone, not worship all the false gods like the Baals and the Asherahs. But then we see something amazing. That even though this king is powerful, this King Ahab is powerful and royal, We see that